Hello, my dear students, and welcome to your favorite educational YouTube channel, English Valley Ma'am. So, आज हमारी OTT series by day 54 Know How to Get the Perfect Score का episode 24 है and आज के episode में we are going to be revising the chapter from a supplementary reader and the name of the chapter is The Necklace. And before we start with the revision of the chapter, I want to remind all of you that after we are done with the revision of the entire literature section, ma'am is going to come up with two very interesting videos. First, which is going to be about roadmap to the perfect score, and second is going to be about examiners secrets, right? So please make sure that you are watching our videos regularly, and if you have still not subscribed to our channel, please do that, because when you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you automatically get a notification that the new video has been released, and do like and share it with your friends. Okay, so let us start with the revision of the chapter The Necklace. So again, we understand the flowchart of the story, and then we have discussion about some important incidents from the story. So it says Matilda is married to a clerk. So the beginning of the story tells us that Matilda was born into a family of clerks, and then she was also married to a clerk. And where was her husband working? He was working in the office of the Board of Education. All right. Then she always yearned for materialistic pleasures, and since she could not afford these, she remained unhappy. So it clearly, the second passage of the story tells you that even while she would be, sitting at her dining table, she would think about those royal dinners, she would think about those high class parties, and she always wanted that kind of life. She always wanted to be a part of the elite section of the society. But of course, she did not have that background, that economic background. She was always unhappy. She always felt miserable about her life. She was always complacent. She would always crib about it, that I don't have this, I don't have that. And she would only think about the elite section of the society and the kind of pleasures that people belonging to that particular section enjoyed. One day, when her husband shows her an invitation for an event at the minister's house, she gives an unexpected reaction. So her husband comes back home from the office and he's holding an envelope which says, so now I want all of you to come to page number 40 of your textbook. So it says, the Minister of Public Instruction and Madam George asked the honor of Mr. and Ma'am Lozel's company Monday evening, January 18th at the Minister's residence. So there is an invitation to attend the event at the Minister's house. So her husband, when she hands over this envelope to his wife, Matilda, he thinks that she's going to be overjoyed that wow, now we are going to get to attend an event at the minister's house. However, she reacts in a completely opposite manner. What happens? She throws away the envelopes and she sits on the chair, and then she kind of calms her down a bit. And when her husband asks that what is the matter with you, I thought that you would be glad, you would be overjoyed after knowing about this event. She says, I am unhappy because I have nothing to wear for this particular event. It's a prestigious event and I have nothing to wear. Her husband, a very simple man, a very family loving person, he comes up with a proposal. What is that? So he says, let us see, Matilda. Okay, so before offering it, he said, so on page number 40, can you see the paragraph? She looked at him with an irritated eye. So she looked at him with an irritated eye and declared impatiently, "What do you suppose I have to wear to such a thing as that?" So he makes the proposal. "The dress you wear when we go to the theater, it seems very pretty to me." He was silent in dismay at the sight of his wife weeping. Then he stammered and he said, "What is the matter?" So she now tried to control her vexation. She replied in a calm voice that, "Nothing, only I have no dress, and consequently I cannot go to this affair, that is this event." So she says, "Because I have nothing to wear at an event which is going to be at minister's house, I need to get a very different kind of dress, something which looks very classy, something which looks very expensive. I don't have any dress of that sort, so I cannot go with you." Now, her husband, again, he always made efforts to make his wife happy. So he asked that, "How much do you think a new dress would cost? Or the kind of dress that you want, how much do you think it would cost? Cost." So she puts up a demand of a new dress, and then she says that she said in a hesitating voice. Now we've come to page number 41. The first line, "I cannot tell exactly." Matilda is talking to her husband. She says, "I cannot tell exactly, but it seems to me that 400 francs ought to cover it." So when Matilda's husband, when he heard this demand, for some time he was taken aback. Why? Because he had that money, but he was saving that money to buy a gun so that he could enjoy shooting with his friends. See, it says he turned a little pale, for he had saved a sum of money to buy a gun that he might be able to join some hunting parties the next summer with some friends who went to shoot larks on Sunday. So this man, who wasn't of course earning a lot, he had made the saving over the years so that he could buy the gun. But now his wife wanted the same amount of money that he had saved. So then what happens? Even after her demand being met, she still remains unhappy. So now, of course, her husband gave her the money and he says that you buy the dress. So why does she remain unhappy? Her dress was nearly ready. Her husband said to her one evening, "What is the matter with you? You've acted strangely for 2-3 days." So she responded, "I'm vexed not to have a jewel, nothing to adorn myself with." So she says, "I'm wearing such a classy dress, but I don't have any, any kind of uh, a very classy, again, jewel that, a very luxurious looking item in terms of jewelry that I can actually adorn with this dress." So indirectly she's saying that if I just wear the dress, it's not going to help. I also need an expensive piece of jewelry which is going to further, make my dress look all the more beautiful. So he replied, "You can wear some natural flowers in this season. They look very chic." So he said that you're still going to look very beautiful if you adorn yourself with natural flowers. But she wasn't convinced. And then he said, "Oh, how stupid we are. Go and find your friend Frostier and you can ask her to lend jewels." So Matilda's friend Frostier was a very rich lady. So Matilda, and so basically, why was she unhappy? Because she did not have the jewel. So what happens then? So she goes to her friend, and her friend hands over a box of jewels. So she's very hesitant also taking the jewel. And finally, from a black satin box, a superb necklace of diamonds she discovered. Her hands trembled as she took it out. She placed it about her throat against her dress, and it was ecstatic. Then she asked in a hesitating voice full of anxiety, "Could you lend me this, only this?" And her friend readily agreed. So wearing that expensive dress and that piece of jewelry, Matilda and her husband, they attend the ball which was at the minister's house, and they had a great time. And Matilda, all this time, she felt extremely happy. She, for the first time in her life, felt that she was also a part of the elite section of the society. So she had a great time at the ball, and her husband and she, so basically while returning home they did have difficulty getting a cab, so they got into a carriage which dropped them at their doorstep. Now just when they're about to go off to sleep, what happens? Matilda, she's wearing a kind of a fur around her dress, and she feels that, let me for the last time adorn this piece of jewelry that is I'm wearing with the dress. But the moment she removes the kind of a muffler that is around her, she finds that the piece of jewelry, the necklace which she borrowed from her friend Frostier, is missing. And when she breaks this news to her husband, he is completely shocked. And then he rushes back to the place, to each and every road they had walked on while returning from the ball, to see if they could find the necklace. But all in vain, they could not find it. Now, Matilda knew that she had to return that piece of jewelry to her friend. But how could she do that? So her husband came up with a plan. What was that plan? Come to page number 43. Can you see this line? He said, write to your friend that you have broken the clasp. All of you got this line? Okay. He says, write to your friend that you have broken the clasp of the necklace, and you will have it repaired. So clasp is basically, if you have seen mainly a kind of a hook, which is, generally rectangle in shape. So it fits inside a particular another rectangle, and then it is tightened to the neck, like not very much tightened, but basically to fit it. Okay. So he says that, so he basically says that write to your friend that we have lost the necklace, and we've broken the clasp of the necklace is broken, and what we need to do is that we need to get it repaired, so I will return it to you soon. So she wrote it as dictated by her husband. Then when she realizes that she's lost the necklace now, she had borrowed, her life become miserable thereafter. So then what happens? So in the shop of the Palace Royal, they found a chaplet of diamonds which seemed to be exactly like the one which she had borrowed from her friend. Alright. So uh, he made ruinous promises, took money, and the whole race of lenders. Then he went to get the new necklace, depositing off the merchant's counter 36,000 francs. So the necklace that they actually saw, they got. I mean the copy, or maybe the necklace piece which looked exactly like the one she borrowed from her friend. They bought that necklace for 36,000 francs. But of course, because they did not have that much amount of money, her husband had to borrow the money from many people. And then Matilda, she took back the jewels to her friend, and the latter said to her in a frigid tone, you should have returned them to me sooner, for I might have needed them. Now the misery in Matilda's life began. Matilda and her husband. So what did she do? She sent away the maid, changed their lodgings, rented some rooms in the attic, learned the odious work of a kitchen, washed the dishes, and she would wash the clothes also. And basically, she was doing all sorts of work. And husband, what would he do? He even worked in the evening, putting the books of some merchants in order. At nights, he often did copying at 5 saws a page, and this life lasted for 10 years. At the end of 10 years, they had restored all the money. That was 36,000 francs. And by now, Matilda, she seemed much older than her age. Her face had, many wrinkles. The glow on her face, which was at one point of time, all had come drowning. All right. Then sometimes when her husband was at the office, she would seat herself before the window and think of that evening party of the former times, of the ball where she was so beautiful and so flattered. So one Sunday, as she was taking a walk in the Champs-Elysees to rid herself of the cares of the week, she suddenly perceived a woman walking with a child. And who was this woman? This was her friend Frostier Forestier, and she looked still very young. She looked very pretty, and she called her that, "Hey, it's me." So she says, "I don't know you." So she says, "I'm Matilda. How could you forget me?" All right. So she says, "I'm Matilda Lossell." Her friend uttered a cry of astonishment. "Oh, my poor Matilda, how you have changed." So she says that it was due to some hard days of my life, wherein me and my husband had to work. He had to work in several shifts, and I had to do so much of household chores and some extra work also, because we wanted to procure money for the necklace that we lost, the necklace that you gave to us. So her friend is speechless for a moment, and she said, "Oh dear Matilda, I wish you would have told me the truth, for that piece of jewelry was not real. Instead, they were fake and they were false. They were not, the last line, they were not worth over 500 francs." So many important lessons that we get from this story. Okay, beta, very soon I'm also going to come up with certain videos wherein for each chapter I'm going to tell you certain values that we learn from the particular chapter. So from this chapter, if I talk about it right now, of course you come to know that you cannot you should not have too much attachment towards materialistic pleasures. Second, be always grateful for what you have. It's good to dream about what you don't have, but then don't crib about what you already have. And a very important lesson, whenever I ask this question in the class, the students tell me these answers only, that ma'am, we should not run after materialistic pleasures. Ma'am, we should be happy with what we have. We should not have aims which are beyond our reach. Things like this. But there's one important lesson that this story gives us, and I'll tell you what is the interesting part of that learning. The interesting part is that since our childhood, we are being told to follow it, which is what? That communication is the key and speak the truth. Had Matilda approached her friend and told her that, "See, I lost the necklace that you gave me, and whatever it was amount for, I'm ready to pay the amount, but this is the problem that I have." Probably her friend would have told her, "Okay, it costed this much," and Matilda and her husband's life wouldn't have turned as miserable as it turned out to be. तो चाइल्डहुड से बोलते हैं ना, तो आप बता देते, सच बोल देते आप, क्या होता? थोड़ी सी डांट पड़ती. बट अभी जो आपने इतने झूठ बोले हैं, अब क्या हो रहा है? बिकॉज यू हैव लाइड सो मच एंड given a series of lies over days, what's going to happen? इससे तो सिचुएशन आपने और खराब कर दी, right? And reputation भी खराब कर दी. So this is another important lesson that we get from this particular chapter. Communication is the key, and speak out the truth. Okay, so now time to turn the board because we understand the characters in the story. Okay, so The most important character is, of course, Matilda herself. So if you were to describe Matilda, so she's very ungrateful for whatever she has. Second, she is attracted, or she is very materialistic in nature. Alright, these two are the main character traits of Matilda. Okay, well, she's also very complacent. So complacent and ungrateful, we can give different examples here. Ungrateful for the kind of loving husband she has, never appreciates him. Materialistic, of course, we have examples how she made those two demands. And complacent, that she would still, she would always crave that why am I married to such a poor man. Then Matilda's husband, main character trait, he is a family loving man, because he was ready to do anything for her wife's happiness. Understood the story? We are going to be meeting in the next episode, episode 25. Thank you for watching episode 24. I'll see you all soon. Till then, do like, share, and subscribe to English Wali Ma'am. And all the best.